when I was a kid, there was actually a Pokemon card game league at your Toys R Us.
Yeah.
So like they would go and they would teach you how to play, and they would collect other kids, and you would all play together. Versus like there was a Digimon card game that nobody could figure out how to play. Like nobody even remembers it. It was terrible. But getting into a card game by yourself as a kid is really hard. But when there's a community to help you, it's really easy.
Yeah. So let's just stick around with the Pokemon card game. We'll double into all the other ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who also don't really know how to play. I mean, like we said, we just kind of collected them. It's like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people collected the Pokemon cards and then didn't actually play. Like I dealt with a lot of card games, but Pokemon was the first card game I actually played and learned how to play, and it's super easy compared to other stuff.
You guys have actually been playing the Pokemon card game in the office.
So when I was a kid, I started collecting these in like middle school, collecting Pokemon cards in middle school. I never played it, and I think mainly the reason was that not because of disinterest, is because nobody else was playing it. Everybody was just collecting, everybody was trading, that was it. I don't think I've ever seen anybody play it when I was younger, but it wasn't until I started working here, and then you started working here, and you were like, hey, let's play Pokemon, and I was like, I never really learned. Okay, let's do it. And I was like, oh wait, this is really fun, and I don't know why I never did.
Yeah, the weird thing about Pokemon is there's an app or a computer game that you can play that's Pokemon the trading card game online, and it's sanctioned by the Pokemon company. And if you buy a pack of Pokemon cards, it comes with a digital code for pack for the digital game, and that came to the iPad like right when I started. So I was like, hey, we should totally like review this. Like I play this. Like, yay.
I see you go over there sometimes. And you've got it on your screen. You're just like ready to play on your off time.
So like that's super cool. And then for some reason, Nintendo just always sent Jose boxes of Pokemon cards.
We never did.
And I was like, I mean, can't we unbox these or something? Like these are cool. Like let's play some Pokemon in the office. We have a ton of Pokemon cards. So like I got really into it, try to get a bunch of people in the office to play. And it's a really fun, it's a really simple game, and it's constantly changing. So like the cards from like when I was a kid, like that that first edition Charizard isn't legal to play anymore. So you always have to get new cards and kind of keep it up to date. But it's definitely a lot of fun.
Just because it's too good.
Unfortunately, it's quite the opposite.
Honestly, if you try to
power
play
creep. All the old stuff is worthless. Like it's all gonna die in one hit.
Yeah, if you tried to play Charizard now, the original Charizard, you would
So it's
you would
just
lose.
so bad that they're like, you can't play this.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's actually weird because usually you think, obviously, I was assuming that it's probably just too good. Of course,
No,
when they
not
create
at all.
a
So
game, it's
the game
balanced.
has the game has like a huge power creep. So one of the incentives for getting people to buy the next set is the newer cards are super powerful. And so they're stronger and stronger and stronger, so older cards aren't really viable anymore. The newest set that just came out has a colorless Rayquaza that does like 300 damage.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And back in the day, I think Mew had 90 HP, like that first Mew card.
Yeah.
Mewtwo.
Yeah.
So definitely can do very bad things to Pokemon cards from the old game.
So we got Charizard here, who's 120 HP. So you try to put that against colorless Rayquaza.
It's gonna destroy.
I mean, granted, like there's not many Pokemon cards in the new set that have 300 HP.
Yeah,
but
it's supposed to be like a ridiculous number, anyways.
Yeah.
But and then in addition to that, they also kind of rotate old cards out to make sure that certain combos can exist that break the game. Like for the first time ever, the Pokemon Company has banned a card from the trading card game. It's called Lysander's Trump Card, and if you play it, you shuffle your discard pile back into your deck, and your opponent does the same thing. So one of the ways that you win card games is if you run out of cards, then you lose. So this prevents that from happening. So you can just endlessly cycle all your cards. And they just had a regionals, and there was a Pikachu deck I mentioned to you that did wonderful at regionals and was great. And pretty much the idea was you would draw all of your entire deck the first turn. You get all of your cards set up, and then you play Lysander's Trump Card, reshuffle in, and then win, and just beat up everybody. And after like a couple of decks came out, there was a Japanese deck that came out that just kind of destroyed everybody. And they're like, maybe this card isn't a good thing. So for the first time ever, they banned a card. So like cards get moved out of the game for reasons like that. They don't want certain combos to exist. They don't want anything to break the game.
So what's the difference between like illegal cards and banned cards? Are they pretty much the same thing?
So yeah, exactly. So illegal cards are cards that are not legal for play, are not necessarily things where like this card specifically you can't use this card. It's from an older series. Pokemon has rotations. So when a new expansion of cards comes out, you get about 2 weeks after that card set comes out before you can start playing that in tournaments. And then every year after Worlds, there's a big rotation where they're like, okay, these 10 sets from before 2014, you can't play with those anymore. Now you can just play with 2014 on.
This is really complicated.
And, yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, you have to go. How do you remember what sets are what? I mean, you have to go.
The power of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome, but then you have to look up all the sets. It's like, what cards were in these sets?
Yeah.
Do I have these cards? I guess I have to pull them out now.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I guess if you're playing competitively, then it matters.
So,
but
like, I'm
if
super
not,
nerdy,
then-
and I may have gone to a couple of Pokemon regionals or something like that. So in my apartment, there may be
Not
a binder that's black and white on for the expanded format. So if you make it into the top coveted of a tournament, you play in one format. And for the first day of the tournament, you play Boundaries Crossed on, which is like the current standard format, which is usually what I play in because I'm not good enough to make top cut. And so you have that kind of format. And, Japan has black and white. Japan has one format. The U.S. has another format. It's all a little complicated. You have to keep track of all the cards and all the combos, and it's daunting, but it's surprisingly not as daunting compared to like other stuff. So compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering, all that stuff is way more complicated.
Oh, no. Well,
I see the fear in your eyes, but don't worry. We're still going to teach you how to play. Like you're going to
It's
get
really not that complicated. Especially
The game
if you
itself
stack
is
it up-
super easy.
Yeah, if you
So-
stack it up against like Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not complicated.
How do you play it? Just a few sentences.
So pretty much, the goal of the card game is to replicate the fights in the video game.
Sure.
So in the video game, you can walk around the world with 6 Pokemon, correct?
Yeah.
So in the card game, you have 6 prize cards. So each one of those represents a Pokemon. In the video game, if your 6 Pokemon faint, you lose. In the card game, if your opponent collects 6 prize cards, they win. So you battle one Pokemon at a time. You have a bench in the card game that represents the Pokemon that are still in their Pokeballs. And you can have 5 on the bench, 1 active, total 6, just like in the video game. So the idea is they're just trying to replicate that. And the idea is you knock out your opponent's Pokemon
Sure.
until you've collected 6 prize cards.
Yay!
Yay!
See? Not
Cards.
complicated.
That sounds,
Not-
yeah.
No, it's just,
Until you find all
It's
the
really
details.
straightforward.
And the weaknesses and resistance and all that from Pokemon that have gotten a lot more complicated over the years, they're very simple because there's actually a lot fewer. There's not poison type and bug type and grass type. There is grass type, and then there is psychic type. Psychic type counts for like Mew, Mewtwo, and it also counts for some poison type Pokemon. Some poison type Pokemon or bug type Pokemon are also grass type. And so, in the card game, everything is really simplified versus the complexity of the rock, paper, scissors in the video game.
Interesting.